Hi, welcome to part 3 of MIDI Basics with Kyle Simpson from Simpson Studios. I wanted to jump right into this last video here for MIDI, and I'm sure I'm probably going to show some more MIDI tools later, but this is just the basics to get you going. I wanted to show you how to actually, you have multiple ways of assigning instruments for your MIDI track. Now keep in mind, for those, I've had some people ask me, an audio track is a track that you play or you sing or you plug into your interface or you pull it in via audio file to go as its own track to play. Now with MIDI, all it is basically data notes or data punches, if you want to call it that, and it's not actual audio right here, not with MIDI. This is just assignable notes that are being punched in to tell Cubase what notes or how to control the VST instrument that's assigned to it. So I have used in the past, now let me go straight to, let's go up to devices and let's go to VST instruments or F11. It's going to pull up your rack here. This is your VST rack. Now you have a couple different ways of assigning. Let's take, for instance, you have a MIDI track already. Obviously you see it says on the output that there's nothing connected. We have nothing right now. So to assign an instrument to an already made MIDI track, you'll want to use a rack instrument. So you have a choice. You can right click and say add track instrument or rack instrument. We'll get to track instrument in just a second. Let's add a rack instrument. Now for this I'm using my Steven Slate drums sampler. I believe this is the Platinum 4.0. It's a really great one. Now it does ask you, do you want to create a MIDI track assigned to the plugin? It's basically a track instrument. Now for me, I actually have this turned off normally, and I'll show you how to turn it off just because I selected rack instrument for a reason. I don't want to make it a track instrument, so you can hit cancel on that. And it's going to pull up your instrument. Now for me, I'm just going to select a drum set here. Because now it's ready to go. Okay, now you'll see that it puts it in a rack. And of course, if I create, let me pull up, my electric piano, and see it'll just stack them just like a regular rack. Now, if you want to get rid of it, all you have to do is click the name, and you say no VST instrument. We're going to do that real quick. So now I got my drums. Now over here, it still has no idea what to use. So if I hit play, it's not going to show anything, or excuse me, it's not going to play anything. So if I drop down where it says not connected, now you see the SSD sampler. You can click it, and then there you go. Have the symbol assigned properly, but you get the idea. Now for me, the whole adding the track instrument, rack instrument was introduced to Cubase just a couple years ago. I've been using Cubase for years, so I didn't always have this track instrument, adding an instrument track directly in, and I'll show you the convenience of it. For me, I've always went the long way, added rack instrument. Most of the time I find myself doing it out of habit. You can bring up your electric piano, have it ready to go. Then you come and create a MIDI track, and then select your output for it, and then boom, you're good to go. Now, that's the old-fashioned way to do it. I'm going to remove this. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove Lounge Lizard 2. If you right-click, you can now say Add Instrument Track, and it pops right up wanting you to plug in whatever it is you're looking for. Now I'll select my Lounge Lizard again. Obviously just one. Add track. So just like that, brought up my instrument, pulled up the MIDI track, named it, which you can still obviously edit that, and assigned it to the MIDI track, all ready to go. So that just eliminates the long workaround, which even I'm still trying to get in the habit of using. I'm so used to going the rack direction like it used to be. But I just wanted to show that off on how to assign an instrument. You can go, for me, a lot of times if I'm messing with different like orchestration and strings, I'll go through and create, you know, 2 or 3 just raw MIDI tracks like this. And then I'll be assigning them differently. So sometimes going the rack instrument way is a neat way to go too. It just depends on your workflow and what you're doing. So the only other thing I wanted to show you, in case, because for me this annoyed me for a long time whenever I would say add a rack instrument, and it pops up asking if I want to add a track instrument. You know, it's like, no, I said I wanted a rack instrument. So you can go into your Cubase preferences. I know for Windows it's File Preferences, or for Mac it's Cubase Pro or Cubase Pro Preferences. And you come down to VST at the bottom, plugins, right here. It always asks to create a MIDI track. I select that to do not. So then you don't have that annoying little pop-up every time it's, are you sure you want to add an instrument track? There we go. Now it's gone. Just gives you a little more control. You know what you're doing. So I'm going to wrap this up. This is just it's just a basic. Like I said, I've got a few clients and a few friends that are just getting familiar with Cubase, and they just needed to know how to assign instruments and tracks. So this is a good start for them.